Welcome to tonight's episode of Under the Bleachers. And tonight we're going to talk about some things like the top 12. We're also going to talk about the updated regular season upsets, and I might reveal my new QB1 at the end of things because Shedeur was my QB1 entering the week. Obviously, I did move him down in my rankings after the Nebraska game, but I'm really excited about Nico Imaleva and Dylan Raiola. I think those two in 26 and 27 are going to be better than anyone in this year's draft, but I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Oh, man, I like quarterbacks.
I mean, what impressed you about week 2? I thought Nico made a statement against North Carolina State. Texas also made a statement against Michigan.
I watched the Texas game, and I loved every minute of it. Just that Quinn Ewers, I always talk about, how cocky he is and such, and then, for the surprises, the things that happen, it's like Northern Illinois, well, I'll bring that up as homage to my boy Rocky Lombardi. I still talk to him all the time, and that's where he's from, and it was like 2.5 years he had 10 come from behind wins in Northern Illinois, and he was great quarterback there, for how conservative Coach Hammock is. I literally watched every snap that Rocky had, every game snap at Northern Illinois, and probably most of them at Michigan too, Michigan State. I mean, but going back to the Texas thing, and it was just the I don't even know how to, it was a good thing because I was watching some of those throws, that Quinn had, and it's like, the confidence is, he's got more and more confidence, than he had previously, in his arm. And, I watched that one, and it was kind of a questionable holding call, and but the throw he made, if that would have counted, man, I mean, it was just, best throw of the weekend from any team. And but no, and that's one thing that I preseason, talking about Texas and what they could possibly do, with the development of Quinn Ewers and the culture, that Steve, Sarkisian is instilling there, and then moving, to the SEC, this Texas is going to be real fun to watch this year. But and then we come into Notre Dame, and that was I really didn't know what to do when I saw that. I had just had them in my bracket, and maybe possibly doing some good things this year, and man, that just went south in a hurry. But I mean, but what did you think of this last week, Brandice?
Basically, bracket buster week. Yeah, definitely couldn't have predicted the upsets that occurred. I was
we were talking about that, and it was
I was definitely disappointed in Colorado. I didn't come into it believing that they were going to beat Nebraska handedly, but at the same time, I definitely thought they were going to get a little bit more push than they gave. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the program. My initial guess is that it's all coaching. You beef up your roster, you end up with, replacing damn near the whole team. At some point, you got to look at the coaches and be like, well, what are you guys doing? I think they play man way too often. It's giving there was not enough time to get some of these new recruits trained properly. And I know that, like, in the off season for spring camp and things, they're there for a large percentage of their summer, but it doesn't feel as if the scheme works with the talent that they have defensively. And more importantly, whole new O-line. Why is Shedeur still getting hit? He does hold the ball way too long for sure. But at the same time, a lot of those sacks this game were not on him. He had hardly any time to get the ball off. They've got all these great receivers now, and you can't get the ball to them. I will not, ever kind of go against this initial idea that I had that Travis Hunter is a way better receiver than he is a corner. Can he play corner? Sure. Is he great at it? In my opinion, week by week, I'm not seeing it. And now you've got someone playing on the opposite side of him, and McKinney. He's just good. He's so much better than. And when you see the two of them kind of playing together, you can understand. Oh, this guy's a trained corner, and this guy is a receiver playing corner. You can see it, and he was being held on a few of those plays, but again, across the league, you're starting to see. I want to talk about the quarterbacks, but defense wins games, championships, all of that. And I think that they're still struggling on defense. And everyone assumes that because they've got like the greatest corner that ever played as a head coach, they're going to have this really stout defense, but it's just not proving that way. Speaking of which, biggest upset to me this week was most certainly Notre Dame. I was not expecting it. I had to sadly remove them from my brackets because of it. I'm not exactly sure what happened. 16-14, it's not like this was just an all-out loss all around. I think that these teams were probably equally matched. And sometimes, despite who you play, it's all about the matchups. A team can just have a really good analyst that can figure out where you're weak at and exploit that. And I think that's exactly what Northern Illinois did. So, bracket buster week. I don't even talk about Iowa.
For sure.
I don't want to talk
about it. Yeah. There's that too.
Should I get into my bracket next, the updated top 12, or should we get into some of the games this week? And I'm going to save my QB1 conversation for the very end of the show, but I think I'm going to get into the top 12, the updated version, because I post every week on our NFL predictions page on Draft Utopia. I do post an updated top 12 for the college football playoff. I could screen share it right now if you wanted me to, but if you don't, I can just read through it right here on the air without screen sharing it, and just Georgia and Ohio State. What?
Just go ahead and read through it.
Georgia's number 1 still. Ohio State's still 2. And Miami's 3, Utah's 4. The reason I have it this way is because I'm formatting the top 12 based on the final 12-team playoff at the end of the year. I think Miami's going to win the ACC. I think Utah's going to win the Big 12. That has not changed. Texas would be number 5 for me right now. Alabama remains at 6. Ole Miss, who wasn't in my top 12 last week, moves up to 7. Penn State, they were number 8 last week. They remain at 8. Oregon drops to 9. They were 7 in my first poll. They dropped to 8 last week. Now they're 9th. USC is now they dropped to 10th actually. So Tennessee moved up from 12 to 8 after Ole Miss moved up to 7. Tennessee moved up from 12 to 8. Penn State remained at 9. Oregon dropped from 8 to 10, and they were 7 in my first poll. USC is now number 11, the Trojans, after beating LSU in week 1. And my number 12 team is Northern Illinois, since there has to be one group of 5 team in the playoff. Notre Dame might be the highest group of 5 team ranked, but Northern Illinois has the head-to-head win. And until they lose a game, if it's 11-1 Notre Dame versus 12-0 Northern Illinois at the end of the year, I think Northern Illinois would be the team that's more deserving. I don't think they're going to go 12-0, but until they lose a game, I have to put them in at number 12. I just think that's the fairest way to do this.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely fair, for sure. Like I was saying, this last week we it just felt like, football was really back, and you know I just loved it. It was so fun the last 2 weeks in here, and talking football and everything else. But as where were we at on the what games we got this week? There's
we did
Kansas
a
State?
thumbnail for Kansas State, Arizona. That's the only top 25 game. Obviously, there's some other intriguing matchups like Alabama, Wisconsin. I think even Oren suggested a game for the show last night for Utopia Football Insiders, which I'm going to air at 9 after this. But I'm looking at what game he recommended for college football. Oregon State. That was the third game he recommended. So for game previews this weekend, we'll do those 3. We won't do anything more. We'll do the top 25, and then we can do Bama, Wisconsin, Oregon State if you want. We don't have to do those, but those are both on the table for this week. But
what about Boston College?
All right. Well, who does Boston College play, Brandice?
Well, I actually think that this game could make a big deal to a lot of people's brackets, or maybe just mine, because I'm still really high on Boston College, but they're playing Missouri. That could be interesting.
Yeah. We'll start with the headline game, Kansas State and Arizona. Arizona travels to Kansas State. I like Kansas State to win, but, the quarterback matchup's going to be intriguing. Tatoria McMillan. I like the Wildcats to win Kansas State. I can't even say Wildcats because they're both the Wildcats. That'll confuse our audience, which kind of that's not my intention. It's just both teams' nicknames are the Wildcats. So if I say the Wildcats, you won't know who I'm referring to. But so I am taking Kansas State to win, though. But I think this is going to be an incredibly entertaining game.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I think Arizona's going to win, personally. And I like I said, I don't know how many times I love Noah Fafita, and I don't care how big he is, if he is like 5'9" or something. But no, the kid, he's just got some game to him, man, and he is riding right now. They finished off last year. What was it? With 5 wins, and then and then they're 2-0 already, so they're on a 7-game winning streak, and that's just been since Fafita career even started. He didn't start until like week 3 last year or something like that. And
yeah, there's a lot of people saying that not trying to interject, but there's a lot of people saying that Kansas State got lucky against Tulane last week in Louisiana. So just figured, well, if that's the case, Arizona might pull this off and keep the winning streak alive, as you hinted at.
I definitely think they can. Like I said, and they have some great players down there, even though they, ended up losing their coach to Washington, in Fafita's first 2 games ever up against USC and Washington, and he took both Penix and Caleb Williams to the max. And I am very excited to see this kid, so I will definitely take him over Kansas State.
Would you like to talk about this game, Brandice, before we get into the Saturday games?
I'm going to be interested to see if Dylan Edwards gets a little bit more playing time.
Yeah, this will be a fun Friday night game. I think this is the only ranked game this week. There's a lot of hype surrounding Wisconsin, Alabama. That's at 3:30. I know College Game Day went to South Carolina. LSU's going to South Carolina this weekend. That's at noon on ABC. That could be exciting, but I mean, it's Garrett Nussmeier versus Lenoris Sellers. There are a few good games this week. Civil War, I do like Oregon in the Civil War. Boston College, they're going to play this weekend. Brandice brought that up. They play Michigan State. This says they play Missouri this Saturday. So that's actually the second top 25 game. Boston College versus Missouri.
Oh,
so that's what.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize Boston College moved into the top 25 after the win over Florida State, but they're at 24. So, yeah, that's actually a very key game. We'll get into that next. I think Luther Burden is just going to go off. Boston College has lost a few corners to the NFL draft, but we'll see what happens. You can't dismiss the Eagles after what they did against Florida State. You can't overlook them. And this is a good non-conference test for Missouri before they begin their SEC schedule.
I think that it's Thomas Castellanos' kid. I don't know where he came from, but he's impressive to me. So I like to see him play. He's got a crazy quick release, which is something that I think Shedeur is struggling with right now. It's, bad when you hold the ball too long, but then when you've got that quick snap, you can kind of get out of some hairy situations.
It's the one thing, like you just mentioned, Shedeur, and it's like almost like I'm seeing hesitation in him, and it was one of those things where it wasn't the same. Like last year, he had those happy feet and he would freeze and he would take a sack, but like you mentioned earlier, that is one of the sacks that he took the other night weren't, that was on the offensive line, and but he was still. It just seemed like hesitant, and it wasn't the same thing I saw, like I don't know, it's kind of like a little bit of a regression or something,
It kind of makes you wonder if he is getting along with Pat Shurmur and if he's got a lot of confidence in his offense, because I think the previous OC might have let him play a little bit more loose, and it shows he seems a little restrained.
Yep.
Shurmur, he's that NFL
Bill O'Brien,
coach,
Pat
and
Shurmur, both former NFL coaches. That will be fun. Brady Cook versus Thomas Castellanos. That will be a lot of fun on Saturday. That is at 12:45 p.m. Kind of a crazy start time since most games start right at noon on the dot, or 2 or 3. 12:45 Eastern, just a weird start time. It was 12:45 Central, like 15 minutes early. I guess I wouldn't have any complaints. But yeah, do you want to touch on any of the other games, other 3 games, William, before I get into my closing thoughts on the QBs? Because we have 3 other games. Missouri is favored by 16.5, and SB Nation is projecting Boston College to cover the spread 38-24, with Missouri winning by 2 touchdowns. I think Missouri's going to win as well, but I think Boston College is certainly going to make things interesting. I think it's going to be in the 14 to 17 point range. I don't know how much. I don't see Missouri winning by 3 touchdowns. So I'm looking at the last 3 games here, William. Do any of those 3 stand out to you? Civil War, Alabama, Wisconsin, or LSU, South Carolina? I will let you pick between, since Brandice wanted to focus on the Boston College Missouri game, I wanted to focus on Kansas State, Arizona. I will let you pick which of those 3 games you'd like to break down last, William, and then I'll reveal my new QB1 at the end.
The thing is, the LSU, South Carolina, that's always, it's the SEC. South Carolina doesn't have that great of a team this year, and it was, I really liked Spencer Rattler last year, and
Lenoris Sellers could be better, though. That's the thing. They're saying his arm talent is supremely good. They think he's going to be an Anthony Richardson clone. And I know you weren't high on Richardson, but that Lenoris Sellers is off to his arm talent, like it's comparable to Anthony Richardson. The body, the size, the arm talent, it's comparable to Richardson. But I don't think he'll turn pro until 2026. I don't think he'll turn pro this year. I haven't seen enough from me to say, you know what? Well, he's a freshman redshirt, I believe. Lenoris Sellers. I mean, he does do a lot of things well. But I mean, even though I like Lenore Sellers in terms of his long-term upside, he's a freshman redshirt, and this is his first year as a starter. He redshirted behind Rattler. I really haven't seen enough to where I'm like, okay, this is a first-round QB. There's a lot of early 2026 mocks putting him in the first round of the 26 mock. I think he'll probably end up in 27 or 28, if I'm being honest right now, because I think it's too early to make that projection. Yeah, 6'3", 242. Sellers does a lot well, but he's not really as proven as, Garrett Nussmeier. And I think LSU's offensive tackles are just better than anything South Carolina has up front at edge rusher.
Yeah. It was already one of those things, LSU, are already coming out with the loss, but then I saw something where they actually lost the last 5 opening day games, and it's definitely one of those things, and I think Nussmeier needs to get up there. He has everything that you look for, and he's one of the smartest quarterbacks I've seen in some time, and I blow up because I have a first round grade on him, and that's saying a lot. It was one thing I wanted to see more film, but what I saw I really liked, and I just want to see the kid do well. So
yeah,
but
I've got him in the round 2-3 range, but I could see why you like him. I still think LSU's tackles are the reason that offense is so successful, but the quarterback I went with for QB1 was Cam Ward out of Miami, Florida. I mean, this is tough. I mean, I think you could argue that Carson Beck's ceiling is higher than Beck's, but I don't think Beck's going to reach that ceiling until 2028 or 2029. Whereas with Cam Ward, even though I don't think he's a Pro Bowl QB, I think he's a high-end starter. I think he reaches his ceiling by 2027 if you take him in the first round of the 25 draft. And CBS did a mock draft that came out today. They have 5 quarterbacks going in the first round. They have Cam Ward going 2nd overall to Carolina. They have another quarterback. Miller Moss ended up going to the New York Giants to replace Daniel Jones at number 3. The Raiders took Carson Beck. Okay. The Steelers took a quarterback. I forget who they took. It wasn't Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers and Shedeur did not make this mock draft. But the Steelers took a quarterback, and the Browns ended up with Garrett Nussmeier at 16. So CBS had 5 quarterbacks in the first round, but they have Cam Ward as their number 1 QB2. And Cam Ward, I saw that 5th progression from him against Florida. I think the arm talent accuracy's always been there. The footwork's been there. It's just, can he improve from the 2 progressions in 2021? He was able to get up to 3 in 22, 4 last year, and 5 this year out of 6. So that has improved slowly but steadily over each season, and he's playing out of his mind for the Hurricanes right now. So Cam Ward, for me, would be QB1. And the other thing you guys have to look at is Cam Ward is he's younger than Carson Beck. So if you're looking for longevity in terms of age at the next level, Cam Ward might have the longevity advantage over Carson Beck, and he's a dual threat, whereas Beck's just a pure pocket QB. So there are some advantages that Cam Ward has over Carson Beck, just in terms of floor and being able to contribute right away at the next level. So that's why I went with him. I'm not going to go through my full list. I just don't have that type of time on my hands, but I'm here to let you know that Cam Ward, as of right now, is my QB1. Any closing thoughts before I get ready to do my other show?
I've got Cam Ward, I've got Quinn Ewers, Grant Nussmeier, and Carson Beck about 15 picks apart in my preseason rankings. And yeah, it's one of those things. But no, other than that, I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and thank you guys for being here and everything else.
Sounds good. We'll be back next week. We'll have a we'll try to have a longer show. I don't want to make it too long, but next week we'll have a lot more top 25 games and a lot more to discuss in the coming weeks. So, yeah, But enjoy your evenings, and so long from this edition